Let's just be honest about something nobody wants to say out loud. We've all experienced it, either being the one who does it or the one trying to decode it, why women say one thing but mean another. And before we even go down the path of jokes or stereotypes, let's cut through the noise and talk about what's really going on here. This isn't about games. This isn't about confusion. It's not about women being difficult. It's about human behavior. It's about emotional safety. It's about how we're taught to communicate, especially as women, in a world that doesn't always make space for directness, for truth, for clarity. From a very young age, girls are taught, directly and indirectly, that their value is connected to how others perceive them. Be sweet. Be nice. Don't cause trouble. Don't raise your voice. Don't make a scene. Be agreeable. Smile. Keep the peace. These are not harmless suggestions. They become rules. They become instincts. They get buried so deep inside you that by the time you're an adult, you can't even tell when you're holding back. You just know you feel misunderstood, or unseen, or taken for granted. And you can't quite figure out why. So what do? You soften your words. You hint. You drop clues. You say you're fine when you're not. You say, it's okay, when it's not. You say, whatever you want, even though what you actually want is very specific. You've just been trained not to say it. And this isn't because women are manipulative. It's because they've learned that being honest can be risky. That telling the truth might make people uncomfortable. That expressing a need might make them look needy. That setting a boundary might make someone pull away. And so, the indirect communication kicks in. It's not lying, it's survival. It's not weakness, it's adaptation. Saying one thing while feeling another becomes a way to protect yourself from disappointment, from rejection, from being labeled as dramatic, too much, emotional, ungrateful, or hard to love. It's exhausting. And it's everywhere. You've seen it. You've lived it. You're in a relationship, and your partner asks if something's wrong. You say, I'm just tired. But what you really mean is, I feel disconnected from you. Or you say, no, go ahead, when they make plans without you, but inside you're screaming, I need you to care about spending time with me. Or you say, it's no big deal, when someone forgets something important, even though it actually hurt you. You're not trying to deceive anyone. You're trying to manage your emotions, their emotions, the outcome, the whole situation, and still somehow stay in control. And it doesn't just happen in romantic relationships. It happens at work. You stay silent in meetings even when you have a great idea because you don't want to come off as pushy. You downplay your success because you don't want to seem arrogant. You take on extra tasks even when you're overwhelmed because you don't want to disappoint anyone. You say, yes, when you mean, no. You smile when you want to scream. You say, I'm happy to help, when you're burning out inside. You perform being okay, and no one notices, because on the outside, you're holding it together. But here's the truth. The more you say things you don't mean, the more disconnected you become from yourself. Every time you ignore your gut, every time you swallow your words, every time you let something slide just to keep things smooth, you chip away at your own clarity. And here's the wild part, most of the time, the people around you would rather hear the truth. They're not picking up on your hints. They're not reading between the lines. They don't know what you're feeling unless you tell them. And they're not bad people for missing it, they're just not living inside your head. But you are. You live there. So you have a responsibility to speak from that place with honesty. And I get it, being direct is terrifying if you've spent your whole life avoiding it. Saying what you actually think. What you actually feel. That feels like exposure. It feels like standing on a cliff with no railing. But you know what feels worse? Living in constant emotional ambiguity. Waiting for people to guess your needs. Pretending everything is okay while quietly resenting that no one gets you. That is exhausting. That is lonely. And that's what happens when you abandon clarity in favor of politeness. Let me tell you something. You do not have to be mean to be honest. You do not have to be cold to be clear. You do not have to burn bridges to build boundaries. You can speak your truth with love. You can ask for what you need with kindness. You can say no with grace. But you have to actually say it. Not hint at it. Not hope someone will notice. Not send mixed signals because you're afraid of confrontation. If you're not willing to be misunderstood sometimes, you'll never be truly known. Women don't say one thing and mean another because they're confused. They do it because they've been taught that the truth is risky. But I'm telling you, the truth is your way out. The truth is your power. The truth is how you find the people who can love you for who you really are, not just the version of you that keeps things calm. And yes, the truth might disrupt things. It might lead to hard conversations. It might change relationships, but it will also set you free. So if you've been saying you're fine when you're not, stop. If you've been nodding when you want to speak up, speak. If you've been swallowing your needs to make other people comfortable, start honoring them instead. You don't owe anyone a watered-down version of yourself. You don't have to shrink to make others feel bigger. You don't have to stay silent just to keep things smooth. Say what you mean, even if your voice shakes. Even if your hands sweat. Even if your heart pounds in your chest. That is strength. That is growth. That is how you take your life back. Because the truth, you don't need to be more likable. You need to be more you. Not the filtered, polished, indirect version. The real one. The one who has needs. The one who has boundaries. The one who has opinions, emotions, instincts, and a right to express every single one of them. That woman, she doesn't speak in riddles. She speaks in truth. She doesn't wait to be understood. She makes herself clear, and that's who you're here to be. Let's go. Let's get one thing straight right now. When women speak indirectly, when they say one thing but mean another, it's not because they're being manipulative, indecisive, or overly emotional. It's because they were trained to do it. It's not a quirk of personality, it's a survival mechanism. And once you understand the context women grow up in, it becomes clear that indirect communication isn't confusing, it's incredibly logical. From an early age, girls are taught that being good is about being agreeable, being likable, being easy to get along with. Think about the messages little girls hear. Don't be bossy. Use your nice voice. Be polite. Don't hurt anyone's feelings. These aren't just one-off comments. They're repeated over and over until they become internalized rules. So when a girl has a need, a desire, or a strong emotion, she starts to wonder, if I say this directly, will I still be accepted? Will people still like me? Over time, that wondering turns into avoidance. Instead of expressing anger, she'll say she's just tired. Instead of setting a boundary, she'll go with the flow. Instead of admitting she's hurt, she'll say, it's fine. Because that's what she's learned, that keeping the peace is more important than being understood. That making others comfortable is more important than telling the truth. That being direct might lead to confrontation, rejection, or being labeled as difficult, emotional, or selfish. Now, imagine this pattern playing out over years, decades, in every area of life, relationships, work, family, friendships. It becomes second nature. It doesn't even feel like a choice anymore. It's how many women navigate the world. And it makes sense. If you've ever been punished or judged for speaking up, if you've ever been called too much for expressing an emotion, or had someone dismiss your concerns as overreacting, you learn quickly that being direct isn't always safe. So you adapt. This adaptation, this indirect communication, is a form of emotional self-protection. It's a way to test the waters without fully exposing yourself. A way to say, I'm uncomfortable, without risking rejection. A way to maintain connection in situations where speaking your truth feels like it might cost you something: love, approval, belonging. It's not ideal. It's not always effective. But it's a strategy. And for many women, it's the only one they've been allowed to use. What's important to understand is that this isn't about weakness. It's about conditioning. It's not about being unclear on purpose. It's about being taught, consciously and unconsciously, that clarity comes with consequences. And in many environments, that's still true. Women who speak directly are often labeled abrasive. Assertive women are seen as aggressive. Passionate women are seen as unstable. These biases don't just go away because we talk about them. They're deeply ingrained in our culture, our workplaces, even our relationships. So indirect communication is a response to that reality. It's not a sign of dysfunction. It's a sign that someone has been navigating a world that doesn't always value their voice. And once we see it that way, we stop asking, why can't she just say what she means? And we start asking, what made her believe that she couldn't? Understanding this changes the conversation. Instead of blaming women for not being clear, we begin to recognize the forces that shape their communication styles. We see the courage it takes to unlearn these patterns. And we realize that growth doesn't begin with demanding directness, it begins with creating the kind of environments where directness feels safe. Where women aren't penalized for being honest. Where they don't have to hint, apologize, or soften everything they say just to be heard.